Welcome to the last episode, or second last, of the last chapter of the book, The Teachings of Jesus Unplugged. And this is bringing Jesus back into focus. Very important. He became very blurry in the 4th century when the corrupt Christians, the leaders of the Christian movement of peace and love and non-violence that leads to another dimension called the spiritual dimension, spiritual world, where everyone has a spiritual body. You don't have to bring toilet paper, it's okay. You won't be eating beans and stuff there. You'll have a spiritual, loving life force that empowers your spiritual body to have life eternally. That comes from what Jesus described as a beautiful spiritual being whose entire consciousness and mind and entire being is a loving spiritual life force. So this loving spiritual life force or being creates all beautiful spiritual things that are perfect in spiritual bodies of love. Jesus then said everyone's got a spiritual body with their physical body right now. You've got two bodies in one. That was his main teaching. He then taught you how to awaken your spiritual body. As he said to the disciples, bring those dead to the spirit back to life. That was his main message. He did heal sick physical bodies, absolutely. But all those sick physical children that he healed, all their bodies died later. His main concern was to help them become healthy and well in their spirit, in their spiritual body of love, and then live out of it before their body dies so they can live in a healthy, beautiful spiritual body that's filled with the loving life force of their spiritual creator, which you can have now. And your entire mind is what he called single and only filled, and you only see everything in the world through the eye of love. So this was his message, and this is the last chapter called The Conclusion, where I just sum up a little bit. It's been a real honor to do this book. The two books, the Gospels, I had to do the Gospels, a better translation. That was published a year ago around the world, the Gospels of Jesus Unplugged, and the Teachings of Jesus Unplugged, a much more powerful book. It's limited. I've been quite ill this last couple of years, and to do this work has been quite difficult, and it could be done much better. And I'm sort of disappointed that I haven't been able to do a better job, but I had to get some truth out there. So it's, for the moment, these are the first editions of both books. So hopefully if I recover from this fungal infection business going on in my biological body, then I'll be well enough to maybe next year or whatever do another more complete book on his beautiful loving way. But this is really a strong message out to all the Jewish Christians in the world and all the Jewish Christian churches, because I was born into the Jewish Christian Catholic Church, but when I was 16 I left because they were teaching a lie. They were trying to sell me the rubbish that the Jewish God is the same divine spiritual loving creator that Jesus' entire inspiration came from, and he awoken to be a spiritual child of this loving spiritual creator who's only love. They said Yahweh is the same God as Jesus. I said, obviously it is not. And the book of Revelation, Jesus is coming back on the clouds one day to do all these evil sort of destructive things to children. I said, well, obviously that is not. That's the book of Daniel. That shouldn't be in the New Testament. That's an Old Testament book. So I write about all these problems in the Teachings of Jesus Unplugged, and it's been a great honor to be sort of inspired to do this from heaven. When I left the Jewish Christian Church, I studied Buddha's teachings because Buddha was a pacifist like Jesus. He had the clear light mind experience like Jesus. They both had the clear light mind, seeing everyone as being the same. That's why Jesus hung out with sinners and prostitutes and lepers and kings or whatever, or leaders or whatever. It didn't matter to him. He knew everyone has a spiritual body. To what degree your spiritual body is alive and filled with love or not, that's the only difference between everyone in the world. The children who go into the dark shadow figure, which I talk about in the Teachings book, they become the violent warmongering murderers that we have in the world at the moment. This is 2026, the beginning of that year on the earth world. And we've got plenty of satanic children, Putin and his satanic army, Netanyahu and his satanic Israeli army, Hamas and their satanic army, all Satan's children killing other children, all covering themselves in layers of stinking filth. And they're doing it because they have no comprehension whatsoever of who they really are. They've covered this beautiful, beautiful spiritual body inside them all. Even the mass killer, Netanyahu and Putin, and they all have this beautiful body inside them, but it's spiritual. They've decided to become a false figure, and they've built layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of murder and filth and death around their beautiful spiritual body. And the life force of the loving Creator from heaven that was in them has leaked out. And the light of the loving Creator in them, there is a light. It's very tiny now. It's like a small little glowing ember. That's all that's left of what should be a body full of light and love, shining on everyone. Netanyahu should be loving the Palestinians. Putin should be loving the Ukraine people. That's how dark they've become. They're filthy, stinking, lying, just dark figures of shadow. They only have power while their physical body of flesh is alive. And it's all beastly power, guns, bombs, kill, murder. Once they die, their spiritual body returns to the source, this beautiful being who gave them this beautiful spiritual identity. All they had to do was accept it and move into it and be full of love and bring that love from heaven to earth. But no, they got conned and trapped and tricked, tempted, and off they went into the darkness. So when they come into the presence of the divine, they'll really, really, really regret what they've done. But it's too late. Their hellish experience, from my understanding of the teachings, it happens alone. There's no one else there, just them. They're in a complete darkness where there's no dimension, no light, there's no reference points. They have no physical body anymore. And then every single layer of murder that they've committed and filth and atrocity against another human child, blown their bodies apart, shot them with a bullet, dropped a bomb on them, blew their brains out, they're going to experience exactly what that child experienced at the time of their death, caused by them. In the presence of a divine spiritual being of love, but they can't feel her light anymore. She can't reach them. They covered themselves in stinking filth. Her light shines upon them. She's light and truth. She knows all about them, everything they've done. She knows about all the children they've murdered and killed and how they died, and how horrific it was for them being crushed under the concrete in the buildings, blown their legs off, whatever it was. However it was that Netanyahu, Putin, the Israeli army, Russian army, Hamas army, whoever it is who's done all the murdering, the children they've murdered, their experiences, all she does is transfer that experience, that actual experience, into them. And they will experience every single pain they caused to the other child. Now, Netanyahu is responsible for about 100,000 deaths, and the Israeli army, individually. They'll experience everyone they've killed, dying, but they'll be dying. Putin, he's killed tens and tens of thousands of children. He will experience all those deaths. He's responsible for all of them. And his monkeys, his brain-dead monkeys, his Russian army, the Israeli army, brain-dead monkeys, Hamas brain-dead monkeys, can't think anymore out of the spiritual body. So they're all going to suffer in an extremely horrific hell of their own making. She just shines the loving light on them when they're in her presence once they die. If they haven't repented, they can repent if they want. If they can repent, the heart doesn't stop beating. Once the heart stops, too late. So these are the teachings, and I explain these in the book. That's what hell is. It's for these warmongers, and it's to varying degrees. It's not black and white. You steal a lolly and you go to hell? No. You murder 100,000 children? Okay, that's a bit different. There's going to be different consequences for you. And it will be beyond any horror they can ever even imagine here. So that's the problem they're facing. But I understand this because Jesus taught it, Buddha taught it, and it makes perfect sense. It's perfect justice. So they're the sort of things I talk about in the book, along with the Revelation book, rip it out and burn it. It's a slanderous Daniel book, etc. And it's just been a real honour to sort of try my best to warn the children who are the warmongers, the evil satanic children of the world, who've become false identities, shadow figures, murder, kill. They're all going to really regret it after they die if they don't stop. Then there's all the children who are filled with love in the Jewish Christian churches, but they're being lied to by saying that Jesus is coming back on the clouds and he's going to throw people into hell and start wars, and he's going to put sores on people's bodies, and he's going to send hailstones down to kill you, and he's going to starve people to death, famines. Jesus is going to do that by opening these seals in this heavenly world at the end of the apocalypse world. That's the book of Daniel. I explain why that's such a filthy, stinking, slanderous book. And an apocalyptic Jew who hated Jesus, hated the loving spiritual creator of love, and hated the Christians following who were pacifists, an apocalyptic Jew put that in. Most likely Matthew, or whoever overwrote Matthew. Most likely. They know it's not John, the Gospel of John writer. They know that. It's a different type of writing. But I've never heard if they've actually compared Matthew's style with the Apocalypse, Revelation crap book to see whether the same writers are the same. If it's the same author, I wouldn't be at all surprised if that's the author of Matthew who wrote that. So I've explained all that anyway. So it clears things up. And it's been a real wonderful journey for me because I never bothered about why they were teaching all this rubbish. I just left. I'm taking Jesus. Me and Jesus are going now. Bye. Good luck with your two-headed God of the Yahwehs, who's a war God and a God of love. You can have that God. So there you go. And so what I've done is the two books, of course, the Gospels of Jesus Unplugged is a better translation of the Greek interlinear. And I've cut out all the Jewish poisonous overlays or redundancies that were put on top of him. So you'll be able to see him more clearly. I don't use the term God the Father. It links you too heavily to the Jewish Yahweh God, which is a two-headed God, a false God. There is a God of love there, but there's a brutal war God there, just like the Romans had Mars and the God of Pax, that was a peace God. The Greeks had Ares, their war God, Eirene, the God of love. The Jews had their stinking war God. They called it Yahweh. Well, okay, fine. Call it what you want. It's Mars, it's Sekhmet, the Egyptian war god Sekhmet, it's the Greek god Ares, it's a war god. You call it Yahweh, fine. It's the same stinking, murdering, evil god. Then you call your God of peace, instead of calling your God of peace amore, or something to do with the word love in Jewish language, they called that same loving God, love your neighbour as yourself, they called that God the same name as their stinking, murdering war god. So you've got Yahweh one, then you've got a completely different God, but they called that God Yahweh. Have your cake and eat it too. Kill your conscience. Murder and kill, and God still loves you because God loves all the Jewish children. What, when they murder and kill women and babies? Grow up. The Gospels of Jesus Unplugged, so that's a beautiful rendition of the Gospels without all the Jewish overlays. The Teachings of Jesus Unplugged, that's the one that's available, which I'm just finishing loading up onto YouTube with these chapters. And that's the cover. And the back of the book reads, "The spiritual teachings of Jesus are a universal calling to all human children on earth to awaken into our spiritual body and true identity of love and non-violence before our dualistic body and mind of the flesh dies and returns to the earth. Only our spiritual body and soul live on. We must prevent the dualistic mind of our earthly body of flesh from controlling us and become at one with our spiritual mind, filled only with the loving life force of our loving spiritual creator. Then our two bodies, one made of the earth and one formed of spirit, can be in harmony and at one in purpose to bring the spiritual love and peace of the peace of heaven to earth for all children. Only true spiritual children of light and love can enter the heavenly spiritual world." That's true. Evil children can't get in because they're false identities. They're covered in shadow figures. She's light and love and truth. All shadow figures are destroyed by the light. They're false. But they have to suffer if they haven't repented here. They have to be sort of, burnt away, you might say, by their own burning realizations of the evil they've done. All those children divided within themselves between love and hatred cannot enter heaven. The words of Jesus can awaken and transform us. It's a lovely little prayer I say every day, and it'll help you center into your spiritual body. You've got to remember Jesus taught you've got two bodies sitting where you are right now. One is physical, and we all know we can feel it and touch it, and it gives us pain and pleasure. It's birth and death. Same central nervous system can torture you into extreme agony, all the chemicals, etc. So they give you a spiritual sort of mind, and it produces a mind itself, a dualistic mind, and you can have extreme agony, or you can have great joy and fun and laughter and ecstasy from the same chemical sort of setup. But the chemicals change. There are different chemicals for pain, different chemicals for joy. But it's all chemical, it's all biological. It's not who you are. It's all made of the earth world and the material universe. Again, that's not who you are. You've got a spiritual body that belongs to another dimension, another world. But the only way you can get there is in the spiritual body of love. And you have to move into it and be committed to it through free will. That's the only way they can sort of make sure that you're ready to enter the heavenly spiritual world. You have to choose to be a spiritual child of love on earth, which is a dangerous world. So that's how they know that you're ready. You've sort of put your spiritual identity first and your physical identity second. Then you can go to heaven, no problem. Because if you're in a spiritual identity, you can't hurt anyone. So this is how you get into your spiritual identity while you're meditating. The Jewish Christian churches, of course, they need to get rid of the Jewish religion, cut the Bible in two, put the book Jewish religion up on the shelf, rip out the book of Revelation. They need to teach the meditation techniques that Buddha taught, because Buddha and Jesus were like brothers, twin brothers. And they both had to clear like mind experience. Buddha taught you've got to clean out your mind of all the negative, adventitious things there that are blocking the realization of your true natural identity. The clear light mind experience, when you have that, you'll be cleansed and you'll move to nirvana. The heavenly spiritual world is what Jesus will call it. Jesus says, yep, you've got to clean the inside of the cup out. That's where all the dirt is. The dirt on the outside of your body doesn't mean anything. It's the dirt inside you, in your mind. That's the problem. And then he said, if you clean it out, which is exactly what Buddha said to do, he said, your eye will become single and your body will be filled with light, your whole body. They both understood this view to view everyone through love. It's a really powerful experience. I'm trying to practice it, and everyone should. But those who do wake up, they are the leaders in this world. They're the spiritual leaders leading you out of this world of suffering to another beautiful world. But while they're here, they bring the love of heaven in, you see. They can't join armies or navies. I can't join those satanic things. They're all satanic. I can't work in an armaments factory. I'd be working for Satan. So you see, we understand this because we're spiritual children, or at least we're trying to be spiritual. So we're connecting more to heaven where there is no evil. So of course, what do we have to become? We have to become children with no evil in us. How do you do that? You move into your spiritual body. Jesus explains how to do it. And Buddha too. But Jesus then teaches this other dynamic above Buddha again. Once you understand the clear light experience and you wake up to your spiritual body, which is what his teachings are all about, you can let go of your body of flesh. It'll eventually die anyway. Don't worry about it too much. Look after it, but don't live, just don't live a sensual life of sensual indulgence. You'll waste your time. Enjoy life, sure. Enjoy having a nice meal and laughing and whatever, but play music or do whatever your hobbies are. But eventually that all stops. It's your spiritual body that moves on and your physical body dies. So move into your spiritual body, he said, become full of this loving life force, and then go out and help everyone who needs help. And that is anyone you meet, your family, people on the street, the homeless that you walk by every day and maybe don't think, oh, they're not my problem. Well, obviously they're a drug addict, look at them, I don't, they're an outcast, They're the lepers that Jesus went and touched. They're the sinners and the prostitutes that Jesus hung out with, the homeless people on our streets. They're the equivalent of the lepers 2,000 years ago. You must go and sit with them, buy them some food, offer them a drink. Just ask them their name. Acknowledge they exist. Buy them anything you can that they need. And just let them know that you care about them. Bring them some love from heaven. The more you do that, your spiritual body is growing stronger and stronger and stronger, and it's filled more and more with this spiritual life force and light, which, as Jesus said, once you fully realize it and move into it completely, a wellspring within bubbles up to eternal life. It never stops flowing into you then. and you go to heaven when your body dies of flesh. So I use this to center into this beautiful spiritual body that we've all got, to try to make myself more aware of it. And you must imagine your mind being completely clear of all disturbances that are potentially, well, I won't say evil, but just dark sort of thoughts, bad thoughts. You've got to understand that this mind has to be an experience of nothing but love, like a circle of light just just expanding out. Your mind just opens up to expand, and everywhere your mind starts to move out and expand like an expanding circle, there's only love. You are only love wherever it's expanding out to across the whole earth. That's your identity waking up. Of course, in our bodies, we have to be practical, and we help where we can in the best way we can with our physical bodies, but we're bringing that love, that loving mind experience that you must experience first. You really have great power from heaven then to help, and you never run out of it. It doesn't mean, we can save the world or anything, but we can work in our small way where we are to bring love into that situation and help reduce the suffering. If everyone does it, well, no more armaments industry, no more armies, no more soldiers. It's the only way to do it, one person by one, by one, by one. If I do it, you do it, person across the road does it, person up the street does it, these little dots start appearing all over the big jigsaw of the world, of all the billions of children. Suddenly the dots start becoming dots of light, and all the dark, filthy, satanic children, the black bits of the jigsaw that are filthy, stinking, satanic warmongers, they become less. That's what we have to do. We've got to overcome the warmongers and the armaments industry, all the evil industries of the world run by satanic children. We've got to shine the light more and more and more, have nothing to do with them and try to push them back and shut them down. But we can't do it with physical weapons. We've got to do it with love. Oh no. And non-violence. Oh no. And forgive them. Oh no. Oh Jesus, what are you saying? Blimey. That's a big ask. But the thing is, of course, he realizes that once you get into it, you'll understand. It'll be fine. You'll understand the beauty of it, and you'll realize what it was all about. And you're already letting go of your physical body before you even die. Once you wake up to your spiritual body, you've already almost let go of it, really. But you're still with it, and you bring the love in. So how do you get into your spiritual body? You've got to follow his description of your characteristics that you will have once you've fully awoken to your spiritual body. He gives you the characteristics. Forgive, love your enemies, these sorts of things. Once your mind becomes like that, once you become committed to be like that and nothing else, no duality, no love, hate, kill, save, none of that anymore, you're in the darkness when you do that. That's the two-headed God of the Jews, Yahweh. You don't want to follow that God. Jesus leads you to this beautiful divine spiritual source of love. It is the true source of your spiritual life. She, he, this divine spiritual consciousness. That's the true source of your spiritual body and life. Jesus found it, Buddha did, they woke up. If you follow a God like Yahweh, you're going to be half full of hatred and murder and killing and half full of love. Because it's a two-headed God. You'll never be full of love. In the Jewish Christian churches, a lot of children get to heaven by just focusing on Jesus and his love, and that leads them, without knowing it, to this singular loving creator, and they go to heaven. Meanwhile, they're being taught, and Jesus is coming back on the clouds and going to kill all these people. It's not Jesus. That's Satan. But they just ignore that. So I'm not saying, you won't get to heaven if you're a Jewish Christian. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, you're in dangerous waters because they're telling you a lie. The God of Jesus is not Yahweh. That's a lie. There are two Yahwehs there. Only one of them, the God of love, Yahweh, has anything to do with Jesus. So the book was all about this anyway. I wanted to speak some truth because I was just so annoyed, so angry at the way they were slandering him. I never bothered about it, but I thought, blimey, I better do something about this. I'm a gardener. I can do this. I'm close to nature. I know what nature's about. Daily prayer to center yourself in the spirit. if you say this prayer, sitting quietly, I can send you a PDF if you look at my email at the start of this video or any of the videos. I'm happy to send you a PDF copy of it. And if you don't like the word she, if you don't like calling this divine spiritual being or God she, if that disorientates you, it doesn't disorientate me, then I'll send you a copy with the word he on it so you can read it as just he. He or she, the spiritual beings beyond gender. We don't have male or female bodies anyway. Jesus said that you have bodies like angels. All the biological stuff is just here in the dualistic world of the earth, material world. It's not in heaven because it's singular. It's only love. Okay. So you sit quietly. Think about this beautiful spiritual mind you've got. Think about it sort of expanding out like a circle going out, a beautiful soft light. And your entire mind, this is your spiritual mind, it's only love. There's no other word in your mind but one word, love. You understand it's coming from a spiritual world and a beautiful spiritual being who is only love. It is a life force of love. It's pouring into your mind and your spiritual body, flowing in. Gently, it's beautiful, it's glowing softly, and it's warm, and it's only love. Immerse yourself in those thoughts. Really commit to this experience. Try to experience it. Try to forget about the distractions of the other thoughts. Just love. Your mind is just love. So sitting there quietly, you say this prayer, which will center you to experience this beautiful clear light mind experience more fully. The more you experience it, the more that becomes your primary identity, and you wake up to who you really are. A spiritual child of love on earth in a temporary body of flesh. The prayer. As I rest upon this earth, the Holy One, she will give birth to who I really am, awakening me from clay and sand, a spiritual child of the divine, with only her love that fills my mind. To every creature I will be kind, in every single land, for this is truly who I am, a spiritual child of the loving spiritual Creator in the heavenly spiritual world, born out of the earth, to bring her love to children in need and help guide them home to heaven as she has guided me, through the spiritual way and teachings that Jesus gave us to be, just as he, a spiritual child of love on earth. If you say this prayer every day and do the meditational practice that I just mentioned about thinking of your spiritual body in your physical body, and it's light, full of light, soft light, and it's only empowered by a loving spiritual life force. It's not your biological body. It's not beans and potatoes and the pizza you had for dinner. It's not that. It's just this beautiful spiritual body, perfect and full of light and loving life force. And that's all that empowers it. There's nothing evil in it. There can't be. She is not evil. She doesn't murder or commit infanticide like the Yahweh God. She doesn't do that. She loves her children to heaven. Think of your mind expanding out like a circle, almost like a ring, just expanding out. And as it expands out, the only thing that's there is love. And you can do it. You can generate this. You really can. You've got to practice it. You've got to overcome your own sort of perhaps current problems or current dualism, love and hate and things, whatever. But you can do it. If you do it enough, you'll do it. Imagine this is love and nothing but love. Imagine this is connecting you to the heavenly spiritual world of love. Imagine there's a divine sort of spiritual being or life force that creates these spiritual worlds full of love, and everything is spiritual, and everything that's spiritual is perfect and doesn't die or doesn't suffer. It's a different substance, it's a different energy, it's a different form. but it's as real as this world, but it's all spiritual, only love. So let your mind of love just go out like a ring, expanding right around your home and your street and your town and the world. But the main thing is to stay centered in this mind of love as it expands out. And the thing you should start to experience is there's no disturbance in your thought. It's only love. Once you start reaching that point that there's no disturbance, there's no other funny thoughts coming in, or gotta go pick up the kids, or even those sorts of things, or anything else that's disturbing this beautiful thought of love. When you start experiencing that, and it might only last for 30 seconds initially, then it lasts for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. As the weeks and months go by, as you do it every day, it'll start to become more powerful, more beautiful, more easily sustained. And that's the experience that is the lightness of being. It's way better than any alcohol or cannabis or mushrooms or cocaine or heroin or all the other junk we may experiment with from time to time. They're all chemicals. They won't give you the clear light mind experience. They'll destroy it. So once you do that, it will eventually start to appear. But you've got to understand, initially it's sort of like imagining you've got this mind of only love. But believing in heaven helps, believing in that world, believing that that really exists, and you've got a spiritual body that's going to go there when your body of flesh dies. At least we all know that, don't we? The body of flesh dies, but the spiritual body lives on. Now that requires faith and belief. Now the teachings of Jesus are very logical, very intelligent. So are Buddhas. Buddhas are extremely logical. It's the logical religion. But so is Jesus. His teachings bring you into a spiritual identity where you can't hurt anyone in this world anymore. Well, that's a good thing for this world, isn't it? We need everyone like that. But there's another dynamic. Jesus knows you're not going to die if you're in your spiritual body, and it's going to live and move into a beautiful world that's another dimension. I believe that, totally. Am I clean enough to be in the presence of this divine perfect love with the other children there who are all perfect love? Am I clean enough in my spiritual body? That's the most important thing of it all. There's nothing more important than that. We feed our bodies, we need food, we don't want to starve to death, we have water, we need shelter and clothing, and around the world everyone needs that. That's important. But it doesn't last. All the food in the world won't stop your body dying. What stops your spiritual body going to heaven is committing stinking, filthy, evil, murdering, warmongering, satanic actions. You won't get in, but your body's going to die. Then you're trapped in the darkness. This is what Jesus was really warning everyone about. Don't go into that hell. There'll be wailing and gnashing of teeth, and he really meant it. They got no idea how evil their hell that they are making for themselves is going to be. They can't even imagine the horror that their minds are going to be immersed in, that they have created themselves. The loving spiritual creator does not create hell. Jesus does not create hell. They do not throw anyone into hell. You can create your own hell if you want. Just murder other children. And such things. So the loving mind, we need to strengthen it. It's like going to the gym. That's what meditation is. It's like you're going to the spiritual gym and you're working with your mind. As Jesus said, it's not what goes in the mouth that defiles you. It's what comes out of the mouth. If your mind is filthy and you hate and you want to kill and rob and steal and you abuse everyone or something, that's coming out of your mind, which should only be a clean, beautiful spiritual mind, but you've shifted into a shadow figure, an ego mind, which is dirty and filthy. And so the spiritual loving life force, even if it came into that mind, it's immediately poisoned. And so you can't experience the love. You're poisoning yourself. That's why Jesus said, clean the dirt that's inside the cup. Get rid of that. That's the problem. that's preventing you from experiencing what I have experienced, and my mate Buddha too. And I'm telling you how to experience it, and you'll be just like me. That's the other important thing in the book, the Teachings book that I've written, quoting Jesus, that you will be just like him. He's not the only child of God who came down from heaven. No. That's Jewish stuff and Jewish overlays, and it's corruption of the early church leaders around the time of the Nicaea meeting and stuff. They corrupted it. That's why they burnt the Gospel of Thomas and got rid of it and destroyed it. You were banned from using it, It was too truthful. The Thomas Gospel, although it's very cryptic in places, too cryptic even for me, but there are some sayings in there that show you quite clearly it's the evidence that Matthew in particular has corrupted the sayings of Jesus. I explain that in the book. So it's very important that you practice this spiritual meditation on love, sitting quietly, and I like to go to the countryside. That's why I've got this image of the countryside. That's where I tend to go, where I want to be spiritual, in the country. And Jesus went into the wilderness, and Buddha went into nature too. So you've got to get away from the collective consciousness of disbelief and the chaos of city life. It's just too chaotic, too noisy. But once you go to creation, this natural creation, then you personally can start to meditate and practice this. And your mind just becomes more full of love and love and love and love, until finally you realize it is an actual life force, a loving life force. If that's all that's flowing through your spiritual body, that's generally all your physical body will express. You're like the spiritual rider, and now you're holding the reins of your horse, and the only direction you want to go, take it in, is the direction of love. So you take your horse over to that homeless person and bring them love. You take your horse over and cook a meal for your children, that's love. You're the father who goes to the factory to work to bring some wages home to pay the bills. You've taken your horse to do something to bring love to the family. Just everything is love, 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 love. So that's what I think. But I'm just a gardener, what would I know? I'm not the Pope who tells you Jesus is coming back on the clouds to cause children to have sores on their bodies and cause starvation. And all the other leaders of the Jehovah's and the Seventh-day Adventists and the Mormons and the Pentecostals, Jewish Christians, a lot of them. Not a true Christian who only follows Jesus' words that lead you to the loving spiritual creator who's only love. Yet, even though they've mixed the new wine with the old wine, which Jesus said not to do, there are many beautiful spiritual children of the loving creator who are in the Jewish Christian churches, but they essentially ignore the Old Testament, couldn't care less about the book of Revelations. They just love Jesus and what he did, how he helped the poor and the sick. So they become like him. So he saves them, even though they're in the Jewish Christian religion and they're being lied to about certain things. They just focus on him, and there's no reason at all why they won't be in heaven. And I'm sure there are many who are way more spiritual than I've ever been, more beautiful in spirit than I am and have ever been. And they will be there, as will be a Jew or a Hindu or a Buddhist or a Sikh or a Muslim, again, who's only filled with, they've got to move into your spiritual body. Everyone's got one. Religion or no religion, you've got one. Once you start believing this, it does change your life. It's very powerful. Spiritual analogies. Oh, this isn't the conclusion. This isn't the conclusion. Isn't this spiritual? Is this spiritual analogies? No, it's got to be the conclusion. Where are we? Sorry, I'm on the wrong chapter. Conclusion. Conclusion. Long chapter. It's been a long journey doing this book. Chapter 28, the conclusion of the Teachings of Jesus Unplugged. Jesus was as human as you and me, with all the same challenges we all have to face, born into a temporary physical body of flesh that one day dies. With all the same problems of trying to understand the purpose and meaning of our short life on earth, amongst so many different belief systems and opinions of other children. Blessed from heaven, he searched for the ultimate answer that made sense of all the dualities of this material world, like birth and death, pleasure and pain, peace and war, evil and good, rich and poor, health and sickness. Eventually he was able to find a singular spiritual way to view it all through, that not only made sense of it all, but empowered him to bring only love and non-violence into this complicated puzzle to help resolve all the needless man-made suffering. And he also realized there is another spiritual world beyond all suffering that we can all go to after passing through our death experience if we know the way. He became spiritually awakened through searching for and finding the source of the loving spiritual life force from the heavenly spiritual world and becoming at one with it. This was the loving spiritual creator he taught us about, who is only love. He then realized we all have two different bodies with us right now. One body is spiritual and eternal, empowered only by the loving spiritual life force of our loving creator, and lives on after death to reap as it has sown, as we have sown. Our other body is a biological body of flesh made from and empowered only by earthly elements, and dies and returns to the earth from which it was formed. He understood the characteristics that we must all become at one with, that brings our spiritual body and true life alive, and how to live out of it here on earth to be able to enter the eternal heavenly world. So he dedicated his life, after he finished doing his carpentry work, he dedicated his life to share this knowledge with everyone, and taught us how to also awaken our spiritual body and soul mind of love before our body of flesh dies. His teachings are universal and apply to all children, and can transform anyone into becoming a spiritual child of our loving spiritual creator while still here on earth. But the choice to listen to his words, understand them, follow them, and become transformed by them is a deeply personal, free will decision. And each one of us must make that decision alone for it to have true spiritual strength and conviction. We must not allow coercion or blind belief in what someone else tells us to influence our decision. It must be a logical, intelligent understanding of the spiritual truth and way of love that Jesus taught that makes perfect spiritual sense in this chaotic, dualistic and dangerous material world. An answer that gives us the power we need by becoming at one with the loving spiritual life force from our loving spiritual creator in the heavenly world to be able to confront and deal with all the challenges we may meet on earth through the eyes and soul of our spiritual identity of love. I hope you may think more deeply about this and also become committed to being a pacifist spiritual child of heaven on earth. Many distortions and perversions have crept into the spiritual teachings and way of love and non-violence that Jesus taught 2,000 years ago. But anyone who can see him as love and non-violence, and our loving spiritual creator as love and non-violence also, will be able to recognize the false overlays put onto Jesus and our loving creator and ignore them. With love from me to you, Christopher John Joseph. So that's a just general summary of what his teachings were all about. He's trying to wake us up. We've got another body that gets you into heaven. And it's been just such a joy. But the book I've done is I'm not an author. I'm not a trained English student, graduate university learning how to write books. I'm a gardener. But the beautiful thing about my book is that an ordinary layperson, I've got this lovely elderly neighbour. She doesn't need it. She's helped so many people. You just can't believe her. Her name's Lexi. So I gave her a book. She supports me. I'm buying the book. I had a few copies printed locally. just to see what they look like. And she gives me money for the book and buys it. And she started reading it. And she said, I'm really enjoying reading your book. I couldn't stop. I said, what chapter are you reading? And she said, this one here, the Revelation Ruse. And I said, that's where I ripped the book of Revelation apart. And she said, well, I really like the way you talk in it. I really like it. It's good to read. It's easy to read. And I got another encouragement from a homeless person up on the street. He's homeless, he's got drug problems, but he goes to a Christian church and he's very intelligent. And so I said, I've written this book about the truth of Jesus' teaching. He said, can I have a copy? Well, I gave it to him and I saw him some months later. And he said, I've read your book. I'm reading it again. It's really interesting. I said, yeah, I'm a bit different. I'm not a Jewish Christian. He said, yeah, I can see that. No, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Now, he's a homeless person who supports me. He didn't pay for the book, of course. It was a gift for him. But so it is interesting. It's been such a joy to write it. But I guess I write it from the heart, but it does need to be written later on when I haven't got this illness hounding me at the moment. Once I'm free of this pain that the illness is causing, I'll be able to do a better job. But it is an easy book to read. There's historical facts in it to back up the truth, and you can look it up yourself. I mean, it's available on the internet. And the truth of what the Christians were like before Constantine is available on the internet. And they never killed anyone because they were pacifist Christians. So that's the problem. You see, that's where it started getting really destroyed. And the Gospels themselves were already poisoned. And they destroyed the Gospel of Thomas deliberately because of the truth in it. That's why they wanted to get rid of it. Anyway, I explain it all in the book. It's an interesting, stimulating read. And I think any Jewish Christian church, Catholic, Seventh-day Adventists, Jehovah's, Pentecostals, whoever, Mormons, whatever denomination you are in the world, if you bought the teachings book, and not so I make a lot of money, I think I get $1.20 or something. I'm not sure. Depending on who's publishing it, I might get a bit more if I can sell it on a website. But yeah, look, the thing is that it's a great stimulator for discussion. My book, because I'm not a Jewish Christian, but I love Jesus and I love his words and I understand them correctly, love and non-violence. Therefore, heaven's love and non-violence. Therefore, the creator of heaven is love and non-violence. Therefore, I don't have any Jewish poison in me. I've never been a Jewish Christian, you see. I didn't realise how important that was. Until about 5 years ago, I thought, I wonder how everyone else talked about Jesus. I only went to the Catholic Church my whole life. And I was just shocked. I was really shocked. They were synagogues. Some of them were literally synagogues. But they said they were Christians, but they hardly ever talked about his words. All they did was bang on about the old Jewish Yahweh, two-headed God, the old Jewish religion, the book of Revelation, and Jesus is coming on the clouds, and they're going to be saved, and no one else is. And Jesus is going to, cause famines and kill people and throw them into hell. And I just sat there, just gobsmacked. And anyway, I thought, bloody hell. Literally bloody hell. Like, as in, this is all satanic stuff. This is the satanic war god of the Jews you're talking about, not Jesus. And so I thought, well, I'll have a go at it for you. Jesus, loving one. This is the very, very last chapter, which I'll leave you with. You won't have to put up with my rambling. God is love. Love is life, quite literally. The life force in your spiritual body is a loving spiritual life force. Think of it like that. The old language, you might say, it's the Holy Spirit in you. But I prefer loving spiritual life force. New Age children say, it's a higher vibration, it's a higher energy. But I prefer your spiritual body is empowered and given life by a loving spiritual life force, which is eternal. And once your spiritual body, you commit to being a pacifist, spiritual child of love on earth, the wellspring inside you will open and up will come this beautiful loving life force continuously. It's already in you and it's already trickling into you absolutely from heaven. The more you use it, the more you love, the more that's coming into you. But once you really commit, wow, that's it opens up. You really become just a child who is spiritual, hanging around in your caterpillar body before your butterfly leaves. Our loving spiritual creator is only love. Jesus is a child of our loving spiritual creator. May we all be children of our loving spiritual creator. by Christopher John Joseph. Oh, there's a typo there. By Christopher John Joseph, a pacifist follower of Jesus for 68 years, who believes the core principles of the teachings of Jesus are love and non-violence, and they are universal and available to all who choose to find them. The treasure hidden in the field of our flesh. He puts things so well, you know. He has these really beautiful sayings, and once you look at them, you've just got to see what he's saying. And in the other more direct comments, to see that these beautiful little sayings, I mean, you know, you had a field with a treasure buried in it, but you didn't know it was there, you know, until you find it. Your spiritual body is in your physical body. If you don't know it's there, you won't necessarily easily find it. Doesn't mean you won't, but as long as you live out of love, you'll be in it anyway when you leave, filled with love, without even knowing you had it. But he's trying to help us understand you do have it. It is powerful. It's beautiful. It's not going to die. But its life force is loving spiritual life force from the heavenly spiritual world and the spiritual being. It's her life force in you. Don't punch holes in the side of your vase and let all the water run out by killing, murdering and stealing. All the warmongers, there's almost no spiritual water left in their spiritual bodies at all. Spiritual living life force, it's all drained out. Their spirits are sort of dead. But I don't think they're completely dead. This is the thing. Jesus clearly states they're going to reap what they sow. But they've only got like a drop of the living life force left in the bottom of their vase, of their spiritual body's just got a tiny little speck of light and a little bit of drop of water of the life force, because they've poured, you know, they've just become satanic children, beasts of the flesh. All flesh dies, rots and stinks. So we've got to pray for the warmongers. I know it's hard, but blimey, the evil they're doing is just, as always, like Hitler, like everyone who's ever done it. They're just Satan's children, that's all. Doing what Satan tells them to do. Murder and kill them all and steal their land. Great. That's a good idea, morons. So I'll leave you with that anyway. And it's been a real joy doing the book, but it does need to be done better. But it could be a catalyst, you see, for someone else who wants to write about this, who believes in this too, and they've got a much better ability than I have, even a better knowledge perhaps of the Jewish Christian religions or something, in a more technical way perhaps, and they can even bring into light even more beautiful ways to talk about this truth that I've already spoken about in this book, and hopefully they agree with, and they go, wow, I think I'll do something that like this guy's done. And then they can do it, and then someone else can do it. Then someone else can get on YouTube and say, I saw this video by this guy, and he told all these things. I left a Christian church and blah, blah, blah. And what he said makes really good sense. And I really appreciate that, and I agree with him. The Jewish Christian churches shouldn't teach this Jewish stuff, this book of Revelations, and Jesus is going to come back on the clouds, and he's the son of Yahweh. That's wrong. The more people who do that on YouTube, it puts more pressure on the Catholic Church, the Seventh-day Adventists, the Mormons, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Pentecostals, everyone who's teaching the filthy lies about Jesus and trying to make everyone worship the Yahweh two-headed God, which is the wrong God. It puts more pressure on them to face up to the truth and teach the truth that Jesus and the divine loving spiritual life force he was at one with and is now with, they are only love. Her love is like the sun that rises on the good and the evil. Her love is like the rain that falls on the just and the unjust. She's kind to the ungrateful and the evil. Unless your love is as perfect as her love in your spiritual body, you will not enter heaven. Beautiful and correct. I'll leave you with those words of Jesus because that's what it's all about. Perfect love. Oh well. Love your way to heaven. And I hope other children start to talk about this on YouTube. There are people out there, Bobby Collier, he's doing it. He's got his own Christian community in the States where he teaches these sorts of things about the Jewish gods, not the God of Jesus. Good on him, great. Bobby Collier. You can look him up. He's more traditional than I am in the sort of Christian language he uses and things. But he's got it, you know. He knows the Jews were worshipping the War God, and he really speaks out full on about it. Good on him. And other children do it too. But it's hard to find anyone who's delivering what I'm delivering and what he's delivering, evidence, sort of proof to back it up. And that's very important, of course. You can't just say, I believe this with no intelligent, logical reason. It's got to be able to stand up on its own legs, its own feet. So that's why I was blessed with a father who was a brilliant engineer, a really sharp mind. If your argument didn't stand up, he'd just smash it to pieces because it wouldn't stand up. He was brilliant at smashing people's wrong ideas to pieces. But my mother, Lorraine, was extraordinarily beautiful. Her eye was single and her whole body was full of light and love. She was the most beautiful follower of Jesus I've ever met in this world. And I had the great privilege of caring for her, full-time carer, in the last years of her life. I stopped work to do that, which is, you know, just a typical Christian thing you do. If you're a true follower of Jesus, it's no problem, providing you can afford to do it and that sort of thing. Circumstances may not permit you, but I was able to do it. And it was just a great joy and honour to repay the kindness that she gave me as a baby when she became more and more elderly and more like a baby. And yeah, I had to do all the full nursing things that you do when you're caring for someone like that. So until they die, their body dies. But she was just pure love. And we had wonderful discussions in the last years of her life about the Christian faith and the truth of it. I mean, you know, the real meaning of it. And she had intelligent faith, you see. So I'm blessed that I've had a brilliant engineering father who won't take any crap, any rubbish ideas that can't stand up. I inherited that. So it's easy for me to see all the crap anyway in the Gospels or what the Jewish Christian churches teach. It just doesn't make sense. It's not logical. And then my mother had a beautiful, intelligent faith. She understood the words, practiced them more beautifully than anyone I've ever met. And so I've got this incredible combination of a really sharp engineering father. His mind was sharp as a razor blade, who could cut down any argument that didn't make sense, quite logically, quite intelligently. I've got my mother, Lorraine. Jim was the name of my father. And Lorraine is this extraordinary, beautiful, pure love, whom Jesus is, whom she was at one with, and at one with the loving spiritual creator in the heavenly spiritual world of love. She was directly linked into them, totally. I say to people, my mother was a saint. I'm just the son of a saint. But however, even so, she set the sort of standard for me to follow and the rest of the children in our family. And so I'm very blessed, and it's through their combination that I've been blessed with this very simple ability, because once you see Jesus as love and non-violence, you can see all the garbage and lies they're talking about him. It's easy. But I'm not a Jewish Christian, you see. I left. I wasn't influenced, I wasn't brainwashed, I wasn't indoctrinated into worshipping the Jewish God Yahweh. I often say, when I was a little child in church, just a little child, young child, 8-year-old or whatever, and they start reading the Old Testament, I honestly thought, why are they reading the Jewish religion to us? I knew enough that it was the Jewish religion, the Old Testament. Why are they reading that to us? We're followers of Jesus. We're Christians. As a child, I intuitively understood that's got nothing to do with Jesus, really. He's come from out of it and all the rest of it, but it's dualistic. I didn't realise it was dualistic as a child. Only later on I realised that when I was 16, and then I left. But as a child, I intuitively understood, why are they teaching the Jewish religion to us? We're not Jews. What a blessing from heaven, I got to tell you. It's certainly protected me, and it's brought me to this point in my life's journey where I've had to do this work for Jesus and the loving spiritual creator in the heavenly spiritual world, amazingly, to help free Jewish Christians up from worshipping the two-headed God Yahweh of the Jews. They've got Jesus there, though, so he can lead them through it, but they're in big danger. They're Jewish Christians. I'm just a Christian. Okay. Well, that's a long video. Nearly an hour. Blimey. And yeah, I hope the book is picked up somewhere around the world by someone, and they can carry that forward. It can be a catalyst for them. This book on the teachings and the gospel too. I mean, the gospels that I have written, they should really be spoken in a lot of the churches now, because it's a better dialogue. It's a better transcription of Jesus' words. I do want to do another edition of both those books now, both these books, but I can't do that until I'm well. So I'm in too much pain with this infection stuff going on, this fungal thing. So, but I'd like to do a much better version. But it could be a catalyst for someone else who's a really brilliant writer and knows Jesus is love and non-violence. They can do another book, and someone else can do a book, and someone else can get on YouTube. Someone else can say in their church, look, I saw this guy on YouTube, this gardener from Australia. he's a Christian, but he left the Catholic Church, and he's saying da-da-da-da-da-da. And they should have a study group about it. And they can use the YouTube, it's free. They can put on any chapter they want, run it, and then have a discussion about it. I mean, that'd be just terrific. And then they can send me feedback if they want. The email address is there. But I think it would be extremely important, because the Jewish Christian churches have to change. Now's the time. Break away from the Jewish religion, cut the Bible in two, rip out the book of Revelations and burn it. Free Jesus from the Jewish religion. And the loving spiritual creator is not Yahweh. There are two Yahwehs, that's the problem. You can't say the loving spiritual creator of love is Yahweh, because there's two Yahwehs. The loving spiritual creator is only linked to the loving Yahweh, which was a limited sort of understanding or a limited version of love. But it was going in the right direction. Jesus took it to its full extent, and he became love. Good on you. Hope you like my book. I finished it on his birthday, 25th of December. And I said, I finished the book, happy birthday. I hope you and the loving spirit creator like it. It could be better, but it's the best I could do at the moment. So it'll be published on the 12th of January in 2026, the 11th. And it will be available, it should be available, you should be able to find it on Amazon or somewhere around the world. If you search it, the Teachings of Jesus Unplugged. It'll take a couple of weeks to filter through the system, but it will be published officially on the 11th of January. I think it'd be a great book for Jewish Christians to have and particularly Jewish Christian universities, or where they teach children the Jewish Christian Catholic religion or whatever. My book would be a great book to stimulate discussion, because if you don't question what you're being taught, that's dangerous. So my book could be that sort of, counter possibility to what's being taught. And if you give that to students when they're young, it helps them to decide for themselves, well, is this gardener in this book he's talking about here, the book of Revelation, should be ripped out. Now, what's he saying about that? Oh, blimey. Gee, it does make sense there. Jesus opens the seal and he starves people to death. This guy says, he reminds us, Jesus multiplied the loaves and fishes and fed the hungry. He didn't starve them to death. This guy's making an interesting point. And then that could stimulate them to understand they're followers of Jesus of Nazareth, who was at one with a God who's only love. He was not the only son of Yahweh, because there's two Yahwehs. I hope it has some impact somewhere. That'd be great. However, how many Jewish Christians who are at the head of the head honchos of the organisations, how many of those are going to let this book come into their church? Only those who have got the guts to understand and look at the truth logically and intelligently and admit they've been teaching the wrong thing. It's not easy to admit that, I know that. But don't worry, it's all still spiritual, still got to believe in heaven. You haven't lost anything, you've gained a much straighter way to heaven, the straight and narrow way of love. I better go. People will be bored. Bye.